coming, the Yanks are coming, the drums rum-tumming everywhere.
Welcome back, my friends and fellow patriots. Again, we will be interviewing a veteran who's going to talk to you about what they've done in the military, the insights, and what it involves. I hope many of you, especially those who've never had the honor of wearing the uniform, will understand a little bit more about what we have done for this country. In history of the American Medal of Honor, there's been only 9 men of the cloth chaplains who have received it. I'd like to tell you about one of them. Navy Lieutenant Vincent Capodanno was a Catholic priest and a Mary Knoll missionary, starting his service helping poor in Taiwan and Hong Kong. He then requested to become a Navy chaplain in 1966 and was accepted. He was assigned to the 7th Marine Regiment in Vietnam. Father Vincent slept, ate, and lived with his Marines, earning him the nickname Grunt Padre. Infantry soldiers in all branches are called grunts. His tour was extended on his request, and he joined the 5th Marine Regiment. On September 4th, 1967, hearing that his units were badly crippled and under attack, he left the command post and came to assist them. There were 26 Marines killed. He joined the fight with Company M. While he was giving solace and aiding a wounded man, a mortar round landed and hit him in the leg. He refused medical attention. He saw a corpsman trying to pull a wounded Marine and went to help. A burst of machine gun fire hit him 26 times and he died at the scene. He was awarded posthumously the Purple Heart, the Bronze Star, the Silver Star, and in 1969 the Medal of Honor. Father Capodanno was declared a servant of God on May 21st, 2006, the first step to sainthood. My guest today is Father Paul Guzman, who has had an interesting and intriguing life. He became a Midlothian policeman in 1977, and a few years later he joined the U.S. Marshals in the Fugitive Squad and the Witness Protection. He decided again to change career paths and became a nurse, serving in Evis Hospital. While as a nurse, he entered a deaconate formation, and in 2002, he was ordained a deacon. He was drawn by his faith and became a priest in 2012. He joined the U.S. Navy Reserve Center on drill weekends. He was assigned to Great Lakes Training Center. He got the rank of Lieutenant Junior Grade. In 2018, he deployed on combat deployment in Syria, where he went to every forward operating base. He returned in 2021 and again deployed in Djibouti, Africa for a year. He was honorably discharged. Welcome to my show, Father Paul.
Thank you, sir. It's a pleasure.
You had a varied career. What was it like being a policeman?
It was interesting. You know, you're a single guy having a lot of fun doing the job and making money, and it was an exciting job, and I enjoyed it immensely. But you know, kept getting pulled to ministry all that time. A lot of people say that you know, your career has been so varied. You know, you've been a policeman, you've been in healthcare, and then into ministry. But when you really look at it, the skill set that you need in each one of those careers is listening. And I developed that all along my way. I think, you know, God has a sense of humor. I don't always like it, but, you know, he does have a sense of humor. And I think he was preparing me for finally this ministry.
And all of those are helping people.
Yes.
You served as a U.S. Marshal in the Witness Protection. What What were your duties, and can you recall any experiences?
Can't tell you a whole lot, but yes, what we did here, I was in the Chicago Metro unit, which was based here in Chicago. And what we would do is, you know, the Chicago here is a big mob town and also a lot of drug traffic. So the FBI, the DEA, you know, would bring witnesses to us to basically, as the Arnold Schwarzenegger movie Eraser, we would erase them and send them off to a secure area where they would live out their lives with a new identity.
Again, you changed career paths and went into nursing. What brought this change to you?
Well, again, helping people, but when I was a little guy, I was drawn towards medicine. I thought at that time that maybe I'd go into medicine. So I thought, well, let's give nursing a shot, because nurses really spend more time with patients than doctors do. And I went into that. I was a nurse at Evanston Hospital for, I think, 17 years before I finally stopped fighting with God and, you know, went into the priesthood.
What motivated you to decide to train to become a deacon?
The healthcare perspective of it. You know, I'm dealing with people who are very sick. You know, people who, as a matter of fact, at the time, when I went into nursing, you started out in med-surg, and the nurse manager that I had on the floor at the time, you know, she said that, you know, the type of patients we have here, when I started nursing, I started in the ICU. Those were the type of patients we had in ICU. So our med-surg unit kept growing. We started med-surg, and then they gave us some telemetry, and then they gave us ventilators. So we became basically a medical step-down unit. And being with patients at that time, too, that was before even hospice got started, and attending physicians would admit their patients for what they called comfort measures at the time. So we were just taking care of them as they got sicker and sicker and then finally passed away.
You went to school for the priesthood. This was a big decision. How did you come to this decision?
Well, it was God pushing, okay? And I was fighting, you know, the whole way. I was, you know, of the mindset, you know, God, a long time ago, there was this guy named Paul, and you knocked him off his horse, and he knew what to do. And I said, knock me off my horse, and, you know, I'll know. I'm looking for clarity, you know. So one morning, I went to work. I was a little early. I had my coffee, and I'm listening to relevant radio on the car radio, and they had a priest on there that they were interviewing, and the topic was vocations. And he was a priest from the Archdiocese of San Francisco. And he was telling his story. He said, you know, I was there, I was in the seminary, and he said, I got a call one morning from the rector. And you know, when you get a call from the rector, you know something's wrong. You know, so he goes to the rector's office. He says, I'm all nervous. And the rector says to him, he says, you know, kid, you grew up in this area. You know, what I need you to do, is I got this nun coming in. And she's going to be giving talks all over the area. So you know your way around. Take a school car and pick up this nun and just take her wherever she needs to go. He said, great, you know, I'm getting out of class. So he goes to the airport to pick up this nun, and this nun is Mother Teresa.
Oh, wow.
And he's taken her all around the archdiocese, and at the end he takes her back, you know, and he says, Mother, could you do me a favor? And she said, well, what is it? And he says, could you pray for me? And she says, oh, of course I could pray for you. And he says, pray that God gives me clarity. And he said that she kind of looked at him, took a step back, and she said, I can't do that. And he goes, what do you mean you can't do that? You're doing all this stuff, you know exactly what God wants of you. And she says, no, I don't. She said, if I had clarity, I'd have no need for faith. And with that, this Paul, instead of getting knocked off his horse, he kind of slid off the horse. You know, says, but I'm going to argue with God still. You know? It's like, God, all right, I tell you what, I'll apply. If they say no, it's no. We're done, okay? So I applied to the seminary. I got accepted. Ah, darn it. You know? So it was, all right, God, if I flunk out, we're done, right? Graduated with honors.
I understand.
Ah, doggone it. So I know what you want now.
I've been through that myself.
Mm-hmm.
Why did you decide to join the Navy?
Well, while I was a seminarian, another seminarian happened to have met his chaplain. Well, he was in Coast Guard. He met the chaplain in town, and he was talking to the chaplain, and the chaplain said, you know, there are only 80 active duty Catholic chaplains in the Navy. And when we talk about the Navy, we're talking about the Navy, the Marine Corps, and the Coast Guard. So 80 Catholic chaplains for all of that, for every ship at sea, for every base, naval station, and Coast Guard station. I said, well, dang, you know, that's not many. I got some juice in me. You know, I used to be a policeman. Let's see what happens. So I applied to the Navy, and they said, welcome aboard. Get in the car quick before you change your mind. And off I went and became a naval chaplain.
What was the training like? Do you learn about different denominations of religious branches and faiths?
Oh, absolutely. When I went in, you had to go through chaplain school, which was located at Fort Jackson, South Carolina. And it was a school for all the branches, the Army, the Air Force, and the Navy. The Air Force at the time had already pulled out. They had moved their guys to another place. So it was just the Army and the Navy at the time. So it was all the chaplains that were in my class were all different denominations. And we kind of had to learn that, you know, when you're praying with a group of soldiers, you know, you kind of have to keep your prayer kind of middle of the roadish, you know, to cover all the denominations, be they, you know, Jewish, be they Protestant, Catholic, Hindu, Buddhist, the whole nine yards. So you kind of learn that. And another thing that they pushed at the time, and for us Catholics, it was like, well, we invented this, you know, we don't know. And it was confidentiality. A chaplain in the military has complete confidentiality. Not even the commander-in-chief can tell you, order you to disclose what you talked about with a soldier, sailor, or Marine. So for the Protestants, they had to learn that more than we did, because we invented confidentiality.
Understood. Chaplain's duties sometimes entail situations not involving religion. How did you deal with those situations?
Well, one of the things I found when I was deployed, and the commander, you know, really pushed that along, is morale. You know, when you're in a combat zone and you're living in a tent and it's 120 degrees out and filth is your friend, you know, people are away from home, their kids, their wives, and, you know, so they, long distance, they're getting, you know, pulled and pushed, you know, in those sort of situations. And one of my major jobs was to keep, you know, the morale going, to keep everybody, you know, on their game and as happy as we could make them. And that was, you know, the commander said, you know, that's being a force multiplier.
I know that chaplains deal with many emotional situations, such as condolences, reassurance, and loss. How hard was it to confront those issues with your flock, and where did you go for guidance?
Well, where I went for guidance, there was other chaplains around. When I was in the combat deployment, I was the only Catholic chaplain in Syria, so I went everywhere. There were Protestant chaplains around in like 2 other FOBs while I was there, so we could communicate in a secure way when I was over there. So I had that and my bodyguard. In the military, chaplains aren't armed anymore. They were during the Second World War, but no longer. So the Navy gives me a bodyguard. So I had my bodyguard who would you know, talk with, and we would kind of decompress each other. But as far as some of the other things that I had to deal with, the internet is a good thing, but it's also a bad thing. Probably when you were in, if there was a family issue or something, they contacted the Red Cross, and the Red Cross would contact command, and we would go there. Nowadays, the family is texting or WhatsApping or signaling, and bad news comes immediately to them, and sometimes we're caught off guard. Like, we don't know anything about this.
Yeah, I imagine it's a tough situation. When you served in Syria, you were the only Catholic chaplain. How many different locations do you have to travel to, and what was your schedule like?
Scheduled like there was an Army chaplain at the main FOB, which was known as 9.5. And he would get a hold of us and say, we're going to the FOBs, we're going to go east. And there were a handful of FOBs there.
Forward operating base.
Forward operating base, as opposed to a PB, a patrol base, and we would go to those as well. But he would contact us and say, we're going to go east. Well, you could make the whole circuit, in like 2 days. But what we would have to do is get on a convoy and then jump off at the next FOB and then contact the boss eye when we signed in, which is base operations. They're kind of the mayor of the FOB, and let them know that we're there. And when's the next convoy leaving here to go to the next one? So a 2-day trip could turn into 10 days easily. So you pack for 10 days. And we would go from FOB to FOB and see the people. We would deck plate, what we call in the Navy, and go and visit everybody in their shops as well, and kind of see where they're going, bring the sacraments to them, bring Mass to them, and then go on to the next FOB.
Understood. How would you describe what military men and women look for when they're in a combat area regarding faith and religion?
They're looking for someone that they can talk to, that first of all they know that it's not going to go anywhere. So that's very important. Some of the times they might be struggling with maybe suicidal ideation. And we have to kind of discern what's going on. How can I fix it for you now? And then giving them the faith and the hope that, okay, we can get through this, we can get through it together, and then we are going to get home. And we push that.
Very much. Can you tell us about Syria and what it was like for you and the troops there?
It was rustic. We were living in tents, okay? Everything was filthy with sand. We called the sand was so fine, it was like talcum powder or flour, and we called it moon dust because you would step down and you would sink about a ½ inch into it. And of course, all that stuff is coming up. You're breathing it all in. It's all over you. There's just grit and filth all over the place, and you just, including your food. You had to get through that. And for some of the younger soldiers, that was their first time away from home in filth. So we had to get them through it. But there's something about shared suffering that made us tighter. And where my RP and RP is Religious Program Specialist, my bodyguard and we were in the back of the chapel. And people always knew that we were there, and they would come all times of the day or night. And the RP I had was a very outgoing guy, so people were attracted to him. He brought them in, and we really took care of our guys. The base commander was very happy with us.
Can you tell my audience what it's like to get a care package over there?
Oh my gosh, it was great. People would send, we had, I don't know if you're familiar with your time in an MWR.
Yep.
Okay, so they would send packages to the MWR, which was basically a tent or a building that had some entertainment for the guys. They would have secure computer terminals so they could text home or call home, and all these little goodies would be left there. One of the biggest things that people wanted were those little laundry pods so we could wash our clothes. So those were great, as well as little snacks. And then they would send those little powdered packets of water flavor enhancer, and it would have electrolytes in it.
Right.
We really needed that, and we would put it in our water and take that. So those things were always welcome. Or jerky was another thing that the guys liked.
I know, believe me.
Yeah.
You went to Djibouti, Africa. What was that experience like?
That was more of it's probably heated up a lot more. Djibouti, Africa is on the Horn of Africa that borders on Somalia and Ethiopia, and it's across the Gulf of Aden from Yemen, which all the nonsense is at. What we did there was combat support, And we would have ships that would come in, the Gulf of Aden, and they would come in and dock, and hopefully they could get to our base there, and because we had a NEX, which is the Navy Exchange, we called it a NEX, and they could get, clothing or food or toiletries or whatever, and then, head back to the ship. So one of our major duties there was to mingle with the locals and to show them that, Uncle Sam, we're here for you, we're here protecting you, and we're here to take care of you. And so that was a big part of our job, to kind of make nice with the locals.
Yeah, my group has supported the troops in Djibouti for many years.
Yeah. Camp Lemonnier.
Yep. Mm-hmm. What do you feel was the main duty as a military chaplain and a Catholic priest?
Well, to bring the faith to all my soldiers, sailors, and Marines, regardless of their denomination, to know that God is with them, and we learned by experience that guardian angels do exist, and to tell the guys that God's with you, He's protecting you, He sends His angel before you, we have the sacraments for you, we're your liaison, whatever you need, go to the chaplain. I had problems where there was morale issues within a unit, and it's like I had to kind of go there and referee. And in one instance, we had to move a soldier to another unit. There was too much static going on.
Understood, believe me. I remember some of those cases.
Mm-hmm.
I ask everyone who comes on my show this question: how do you feel about being a vet?
I haven't been a vet too long, maybe a year. I just got out of the Navy just a year ago. And it's that camaraderie still. That it's not quite the same as when you have that shared suffering, in a deployment, but it's like you've been there with me. I know what you're going through. It's part of being a group that you never want to leave.
Right. No, I understand that, believe me. Welcome back.
Thank you.
And thank you for coming on my show.
It's my pleasure.
Please accept this pin, this coin.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'd like to read a message I received from the troops we send care packages to. This one's from Djibouti, Africa. Dear Jim and Krew, thank you so much for your continued support and generosity. I'm always so humbled by all the support we continue to receive, even after these years being in the desert. Sincerely, Tech Sergeant Heather Burt. Last week, Thursday, I again watched as 24 years ago, 4 airplanes crashed into America and into our hearts. To see our buildings collapse and watch Americans falling to their deaths, watching in horror. How did this happen to us? It brought tears to my eyes again. We all remember where we were that day. Let us remember that there is still evil in this world. People who want to hurt us because we are what we are. We are the heart of freedom. Luckily, we have Americans who even on this day guard us all over the world and have shed their blood for us. Thank you again for watching my show here on PHTV4. We'll be back again next month with another veteran who will give us their input on what it's like to being a vet. Honor and respect.